alarm plus a visual alarm. And you can hit accept for the alarm, but you're going to clear the highest priority one first, and then you're going to clear the whole stack of them. So you might have 7 different alarms that you've got to clear through the screen before it brings you back to the main home screen. So that's a nice feature too, because while you're, say, working on this with the patient, you might get 2 alarms stacked on each other. The machine's making sure that you are aware that this situation happened and this other situation happened. So it's another nice safety feature about it. We can come here to the More screen, and it's going to show me an option for the waves down here. This is where I usually like to monitor my patient. It's got my 3 choices of waves, and I usually ran it right here on the single pressure wave. And that way, visually, I can simply just watch the flow and the pattern of my patient. Now, between watching my pressure waves here, having my alarms available to me, and having end tidal running on my cardiac monitor, I've got a pretty good comprehensive view of what's happening with my patient. Just speaking back to these, you've got 4 parameters on the bottom. You can change them, whatever you want to see while you're transporting. So right now it's got my PEEP, it's got my mean airway pressure, it's got my my cylinder time, and it's got my battery time. If I wanted to change that so that something else is showing, I just simply tap that and I bring up all the options, hit that, hit accept, and now that is on my main screen. So of those 4 parameters, I can customize those. The last one over here, it says transport. If I hit that, it goes to basic. Hit accept. Basic is simply wipes out all the settings. Everything still ventilates the same, but it wipes out all the configurations here, and it just shows a basic clock. That's because this ventilator can be used as a patient's home personal ventilator. So it's set up that way. Another option is going to hospital version, and then finally back to transport. Now, cylinder time. There is a calculator in here for cylinder time. We don't typically use it, but it's possible. For mixing in air, your FiO2, that's where you have this dial over here. It's a manual dial. It goes all the way down to 21%, so room air, right here at the bottom of the dial. And then you physically crank it all the way up to 100%, and it's going to bleed air into your circuit line. This is a 50 psi line. And it has your adapter on it. So this simply screws on to either the wall at the patient's bedside or, more appropriately, the portable tank on the head of the stretcher. It has a quick disconnect feature right here. So then you can just leave that connected and then go into the sidewall of the ambulance. Sometimes this sidewall quick disconnect is also available at the bedside inside the hospital. That way you can have the patient running on the appropriate oxygen level while they're on the cot and moving from the room to the ambulance or the ambulance to the room. Then once you get inside the ambulance, you're simply going to do a quick disconnect and pop them in so that they're on the main. The ambulance cylinder time, that simply means that you need to be aware of how much oxygen you have on the back of your stretcher, plus how much oxygen you have in your main, and how much you're going to burn through for the transport. There are oxygen calculators that can be utilized for very long transports. This one has an internal one, so it can sense the pressure, but it doesn't know the size of the container. So very simply, for the internal calculator here, you would put in what size bottle you're using, and then it's going to automatically, through the 50 psi line, it's going to automatically sense how much pressure there is, and it's going to calculate based on normal usage how long that's going to take you. Now, if the patient starts breathing on their own faster, or they start to flail and they need more FiO2, clearly that will change your oxygen calculator. So take it with a grain of salt. Always make sure that you have enough oxygen to have more than enough to complete your transport. A final note about the battery is that it will reliably last you 5 hours. What I'm going to tell you is always be conservative. You always need to have a backup plan. So your backup plan is not necessarily bringing another ventilator. Your backup plan would simply be any transport where on ventilator you know that patient's going to be on the vent for more than an hour and a half. bring the AC adapter, and that way if for some reason you're really sucking down battery life faster than you expect, then you certainly have plenty of battery to offload and onload, and you can simply plug them into the sidewall on AC for your actual transport. This compartment, we just simply carry an extra circuit. That way if you had a circuit failure or you go do a pressure test and it fails, you've got a backup right here. And that's about it for the overview and the use of the ventilator. That's certainly not all the features. We can change flow rate, we can change the slope, how quickly it rises to get to the amount of pressure that you want. You can pressure ventilate, you can volume ventilate. There is a CPAP option. We can set 2 different flow pressures to mimic a BiPAP type option. So this is just meant to be a general overview to get you comfortable and oriented to using this particular device. But as always, you need to have some hands-on practice, hands-on skill, but this can simply